Welcome to Yell, Fight, Sooie, college football from three friendly-ish rivals.
Okay, you want to do the two disclaimers?
And we are back on Yell, Fight, Sooie. We are doing a special earlier episode because we've all got stuff to do. The games are over, and we start playing either Friday or Saturday of next week. But let's introduce the team. I am the Fight in the show. I'm James Christopher. We've got the Sooie, Mr. Scotty Mack. How we doing?
Hey, man, doing great. Just happy to be here. Bowl eligibility makes me happy.
And he who yells at everything these days, Andy Zip. How you doing, Andy?
I do not remember what bowl eligibility feels like because it's been so long since we actually played in a bowl. So, happy Thanksgiving, folks.
Did you guys miss your bowl last year? Is that right? Do you guys
we had a COVID outbreak, so we avoided playing Wake Forest. Missed it because of COVID.
Yeah, Texas was also bowl ineligible last year. Andy, we're going to start with you because I feel like you're having a deja vu of the 2019 Houston Astros, where now that things have ended, things are piling on. We've got videos of cannons and students and all that stuff. And I don't necessarily want to dive into that in specific, but just what is the feeling right now? Give me the temperature of Texas A&M and College Station right now.
Well, I think you have to address those things. The cannon thing's stupid. The commandant's stupid. It was a stupid excuse. All that's dumb. The empty stadium and the national media making a big deal of that is also ridiculous.
Yeah, it's cold and wet.
It was cold and wet, and you're playing UMass, and you're 3-7. It's not a mystery why people left. If we were 8-2 with the same weather, more people would have stayed. If we were 4-7 and playing LSU, as you'll see Friday or Saturday night, more people will be there. It was a convergence of four variables that all favored going home and watching it on your TV.
There's a fifth because there's also long week ahead of you. Like it was a long week off for everybody. Like most people.
And half the crowd that was there after the band got finished marching went to the Hall of Champions and watched it where it was heated and they weren't being rained on. And we are open season right now for every bit of ridicule and picking on and whatever you want to call it. And you know what? Good. It's our turn. I'm not going to cry about that. It's just the reality of it. If we're sitting at 8-2 right now, none of this is an issue.
Sure.
Nobody cares that you blew out the eardrums of two UMass players because they're going to go be social workers anyway. It didn't matter.
Taking pot shots at UMass. You got to. When your program is to the point that you're like, I'm gonna punch UMass. Ooh.
We're at that point of when is a win really a win?
Absolutely.
This weekend wasn't a win other than we happened to outscore the team. Same problems existed. We couldn't run the ball, couldn't stop the run. UMass just was really, really bad, so we beat them by 17 points. The end.
Yeah.
I don't think you have anything to worry about from a crowd standpoint unless you get the same thing against LSU, right?
The fact is
we're lined up for ticket draw this morning for a Saturday game after Thanksgiving. They were wrapped around the MSC, which is a pretty long jaunt if you've been on that campus. I'm not worried about all that. That was just an easy. Oh, look at stupid A&M trying to be relevant and and Jimbo's killed the crowds. If Jimbo was controlling the weather, if he controls HARP, because I've been watching a lot of conspiracy videos lately, if Jimbo controls HARP, by God, we should have rain every game.
Well, and I think, I think also to try to make the illusion that somehow Texas A&M football fans are not loyal to their school is asinine. And anybody that's been around an Aggie for 5 seconds know that they're very proud of that institution. So, Scott, you guys took Mike Leach out to the woodshed.
No, we took Lane Kiffin out to the woodshed.
Oh, is it Lane Kiffin? I don't know why.
Good. Mike Leach took us to the woodshed.
That's right. I just got done having a colonoscopy, everybody, so I'm still not sure what planet I'm on.
Voluntarily, too. That was the weirdest thing that you just were like, hey, when you told us that you met that guy in Walmart and he talked you into giving you the colonoscopy, we thought that was weird, but cool, man. I'm glad everything checked out.
He assures me I'm fine. I don't know. The things you do when you love your wife and you have grandkids, you want to stay around for a while.
There you go. Been there.
So you slapped Lane Kiffin around, I guess, helping him pack for Auburn. Just overall, how you feeling about that dub?
what was really weird was that Arkansas was only 1.5 point underdogs going into that game at 5-5, and Ole Miss was 14th in the nation. I think it shows a lot about what the year's been like for Arkansas. We've been competitive in every game, just about. A couple of games that shouldn't have been competitive, i.e., Liberty and Missouri State. But it's really been that type of Jekyll and Hyde year for us. All the bounces this year seem to have gone against us until this last weekend. Everything that could go right for us in the first half went right for us in the first half. And when you look up with 10, 12 minutes left in the third quarter and you're up on Ole Miss 42-6, bust open the margaritas, kids. It's time to party. Even Arkansas is not going to screw that lead up. So yeah, it was really fun being on the correct side of one of those. But I honestly, it just did feel like all the breaks that have not gone our way this year, that the football god said, okay, 10 weeks of punishment's enough. We're going to give you this one.
Yeah, and it's got to feel good, bowl eligible. We've talked on this show a bunch about why that does matter. Obviously,
yeah, definitely.
Obviously, I had a very awesome experience football wise on Saturday. Though, I'm maintaining my my approach of process over product and not getting too high, too low. I could go and look at all the losses that I think all of the losses Texas had this year were within 6 points of every single game. So you could obviously look at that and go, wow, 3 plays go this way or 3 or 4 bounces go this way. But again, process over product. Nice to see them lead on the running game. Yours still struggled, but seemed to have gotten better. And the defense really teed off and made the Kansas offense, which of course we've been following Kansas all year, hasn't been bad. They look kind of dumb and inept at times. And I felt like, I don't know. I mean, you feel good going into the game against Baylor, and everybody knows I hate 2 sports organizations chief among any of them, the Texas Rangers and the Baylor Bears, because you shouldn't let rapists play football. So here's hoping we can get a righteous victory on Friday.
Yeah, the Baylor's interesting to me because they pushed TCU to their limits, and I don't know how much that game was TCU stepping on their own dicks versus Baylor doing things well. I suspect the answer is somewhere in the middle of that, like most games. But Baylor's certainly motivated to try to beat you guys, as they always are, because as much as we poke fun at you, they are one of the many schools that like to pretend there's some sort of rivalry with you. And I can speak intelligently on this because as we talk about the all-time record sometimes, and Texas has the advantage on both of the schools on this show, they have a huge advantage over Baylor. A&M has the exact same advantage over Baylor, but Baylor will win 1 game in 30 years and act like they're in that rivalry every year. Meanwhile, they're busy skinning cats who are alive and raping co-eds and
cutting basketball players' heads off.
And accusing them of murder, drug dealing to cover all that up. It's an evil organization, and this will be the one time a year that I'm openly, most of the time I'm ambivalent. I'm happy for you if Texas wins. It's not hurting my feelings if they lose. This one I need Texas to win that game.
I need it because Nathan, who I know Scott knows well, is leaving Port A at 6 a.m. on Friday to get to the game at 11. So I really need for everybody involved for it to go well.
Is it in Austin or in the
It's
toilet
in Austin,
bowl?
yeah.
Okay, good, because you have to worry if you go to the toilet bowl on the Brazos that those bricks they have along the side, those aren't real bricks. It's just a plastic tarp because they ran out of money. Thanks, Uncle Drayton.
We all know about cheap Uncle Drayton. Scott, you had something to say?
No, I mean, it's kind of gone away from what I was thinking of a minute ago, to be honest. No, we were talking about Baylor. I think Baylor away from home is a different team, and TC. I wouldn't put too much weight in any. In if you get beat by TCU this year, they're 11-0 at this point, and every game has been competitive. They're not dominant. They're just all the breaks are going their way. It's clearly a game that Baylor's reached bowl eligibility. Dave Aranda's doing a great job there. Fantastic job at Baylor. I don't want to take anything away from him, but Texas is on the rise. I do not see Baylor being successful in Austin, Texas this weekend. I just don't see it. Not a chance. No.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut that off, but you guys still technically have something to play for as far as the Big 12 championship, right? If Kansas State loses and you win, y'all beat Kansas State, you have the head-to-head, so you're playing TCU for the Big 12 championship. Is that right?
Still in it. Yes, sir.
Now, the last time a Texas coach needed a bunch of stuff and to win over Baylor to win the Big 12, it was back Brown in his last season. So,
well, that's a real neat deal.
Then BB's fell right out of the pocket.
No, but I do think, in all honesty, though, I mean, if you do get TCU again, what an interesting matchup. Texas is only getting better. TCU has everything to lose at this point. Wow, what and also not to mention the fact that if it's Kansas State and TCU, I don't know if I can handle that much purple on my screen. I'm not sure. So burnt orange, I need the burnt orange offset against purple, maybe. I don't know. I'm good.
I think we're also, wish casting a little bit because a couple things have to happen for Texas to get in that game. But if you are, you may be in the very weird situation of the Big 12 refs knowing you're leaving the conference and knowing the only hope of having a playoff team is TCU winning out, of playing two different teams at the same time in a championship game. And that has not always been the experience when you're at Texas.
No.
Although I know
you know what that is? You know what that is, Andy? An amazing segue to our next topic.
You're welcome.
Brett Bielema, look, I saw the tweet. Brett Bielema, I have it pulled up to read it to you guys as I stall. I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money. Or ratings. I won't be silent. I just saw it live. To be honest, Scott, you had texted us about this stuff during the game. I didn't have the context, saw the tweet, went back and watched it. I don't know that I'll go as far as to say it was rigged, but it certainly stinks. Scott, we'll let you go first on this since you were
the apples are rotten. Yeah, the apples are rotten in the barrel. First of all, good on Brett Bielema to say it. First of all, Brett Bielema at Arkansas became a media darling because of the things that would spew out of his mouth from time to time. And that's not when he was drinking Tito's. But Brett Bielema has a knack for saying whatever he's thinking. And trying to establish the program that he's trying to establish at Illinois and make them relevant again, he has nothing to lose by saying those shots, by making those shots and saying those things, except whatever they're going to fine him from the office, and he can afford it. So that's not a problem. Good on him to say it because there are hints of truth. No, I mean, everybody's thinking it, right? When Arkansas is playing Alabama and Alabama's 6-0 in conference and we're 4-2, and there's a questionable call and every one of them goes Alabama's way, and the call on the field stands. And you're looking at this going, there are obvious things that are wrong, but teams like Bama and Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State and Notre Dame and USC and Clemson, they're going to get all the calls. They're going to get the calls. There's no way around it. And there was offensive pass interference that was blatant. It's not like he accidentally screened someone or shoved him. He drove his man 12 yards downfield. The guy's healthy, he's safe, but it's not legal. I'm all for coaches being able to call a spade in this regard and say this is just flat out wrong. And good on him. Good on him to bring it to light. And man, Illinois football is in the headlines in late November.
Yeah.
When?
And I think Bielema will do well there. I mean, he's a Big Ten guy. I think that's a big reason why maybe he didn't succeed at Arkansas. Andy, anything about this specific?
Let me add one thing too. I do want to say, and I don't know if this plays into it, but Bielema lost his mom during the week. He's speaking at his funeral like now also. So, I mean, emotions are raw in that guy's mind also. So not that I am a Brett Bielema fan. I know he didn't do well at Arkansas, but I do like Brett Bielema as a person. I'm glad to see him being successful. But I do think that plays into the fact when your emotions are that raw anyway, that stuff like that's just going to come out of your mouth. The filter's not there. So I did want to add that.
Andy, just overall, I mean, where do you see this? Do you feel like we're getting to the point where, like, I think your argument is correct about what Texas was like. Just like if you go back to, I think the first year of the playoff before the Big 12 had a championship game and both Baylor and TCU got left out when you could have made the argument that could have been left in. And I've often said if Texas and OU are in that same spot, they're both in and somebody else is left out. It's clearly in many more ways than one, money is on the sleeve of college football now. So overall, I mean, do you think he's got a point? Do you think just bad officiating or purposefully bad officiating?
You'd hate to accuse somebody of being purposely inept. And I, applaud Bielema for speaking out loud, although he can afford it because I think Arkansas is probably still paying him a little bit. Not coach. I think he just does this for charity up in Champaign. But
nothing compared to the amount you're going to be paying Jimbo Fisher really soon. But
he'll still be walking our sideline at least. He might be mowing the grass, but he will be walking the sideline. I think what I hope happens out of this, and we've talked earlier in the season about the future of college football and what that's going to look like. I think if we get to the point where there is a 32 team or 40 team or whatever number that is super division above the NCAA, and there's been some news that has come out this week that there's some groundwork being laid for an oversight to those teams just for Division I football and just really for a subset of Division I football, that you have professional referees and umpires who are held to a standard and something better than hopefully the MLB players union or umpires union. But right now, these guys are insurance agents, they're car dealers who happen to also ref major college football on the side during the weekends. And it's way too easy to be a lifelong Michigan fan and hell, maybe even placing money with your buddies on a bet and wanting to see Michigan succeed. I'm not saying any of that necessarily happened, but there's way too much circumstance that could allow that sort of thing to happen. And if you've got billions and billions, and I'm not misspeaking, billions of dollars on the line with college football, and that money's only going to get better, the thing that screws up your product more than anything is inept officiating. That inept officiating has to be addressed because you're going to keep seeing things like this. And when it's such a big legacy program that's benefiting from it, it just looks.
Yeah. Scott, he's bringing up what had long been the complaint in the NFL because they were the only league without professional full-time officials. And that does lead to maybe not even like nefarious actions, but at a minimum, hey, I got to focus on the 9 to 5 as much as I've got to focus on refereeing a football game. I mean, that's a big problem. And you're right with Andy, like what Andy said, so much money's flying around. They have to find a way to fix that one part. It's the equivalent of having robo umps in baseball. We're tired of seeing thousandaires screw up a game played by millionaires.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was about to say, just because you pay officials doesn't mean they're going to be good. Angel Hernandez can.
No, but if you had I'm sorry, but my point is, if you had an overarching group that managed this as a professional program and this was their jobs, there is the ability to hold them accountable.
Sure.
There is the ability to assign refs to games where they do not have any kind of alumni status, preferred fan status, season ticket holder status, because none of that exists right now in college football. I know the SEC has done some things towards that. I know the Big 12 tried to do some things towards that. But the reality is you have a finite amount of officials who don't get paid a whole hell of a lot of money that have to travel to these games. And you're going to get guys from Austin who naturally root for the University of Texas because they were born there. You're going to get guys from East Lansing that hate Michigan, but they're going to do everything they can for state. And that's going to jeopardize the legitimacy of this game more than it already is.
No, and that's exactly where I was going with it. Is
well, I'm glad I interrupted you then.
No, I mean they're not being
rare,
but to get to where you have to get to make things better, the first thing you have to do is bring in paid officials. Or I'm sorry, professional, not extra job on the side officials. You've got to have that first and foremost. The problem becomes, they still can have other jobs, but just don't do it during the football season.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to pay them enough, you've got to eliminate the argument that there's another distraction out there to these guys, whether it's their day job or whether they don't have enough time or whatever. You can address things exactly the way you're talking about to manage and make sure that, if A&M and Texas are playing each other, I'm officiating. You two guys aren't. right? You can go through that and manage that. You've got to do that to be able to eliminate the arguments, but I don't believe that's going to fix the bigger problem. I just don't. I think we're not going to see the problem really truly fixed until there really is some change in the blue blood structure, which honestly, guys, I'm very hopeful that that's actually going to happen this year somewhat, because Bama's out, Tennessee's out, LSU's probably out, Michigan and Ohio State, one of them is going to knock the other one out. We are getting a change in the guard a little bit, hopefully. But you've got to eliminate the amateur officials from the game, but that's not going to fix everything. It's just not.
No, but I think it does fix the optics of preventing Buddy Garrity making a call because he doesn't want people not buying cars from his car dealership next week. That becomes my concern, because it is that base in a lot of these games. Not saying that's what happened in Illinois and Michigan, but if it was that, if these guys were Michigan fans or grew up in Ann Arbor, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's not going to change the fact, though, that if I've got to make a call, whether I'm getting paid professionally or I'm doing it and just out of the goodwill of my heart or whatever, if there are 110,000 people that are going to negatively react to the call that I'm about to make, that is absolutely a thought that goes on.
I want that guy
before they throw the flag.
I want that guy that wants to make that call and wants those people booing him. That's the guy I want.
Well, that's Angel Hernandez, though, Andy. I mean, it really is. You can't take it to that extreme either. But people, I mean, I don't know. It's if there's one bad call in a game, that's to be expected. All right, and I think that's what got under Bielema's collar in this instance. It wasn't one bad call; it was 3 bad calls.
There were several egregious
consecutive plays.
That was it.
After the fact that you held my team up at halftime and wouldn't let us come out because Michigan Stadium is 110, 120 years old, and the walkways have not been updated in that long, and Michigan gets to come out to the field first, to the point that they added extra time to halftime to get Illinois time to get on the field. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, look, I'm getting boiled under the collar just thinking about it. And so if I'm Bielema, absolutely. There can't be multiple calls. And replay's got to mean something. I mean, for crying out loud, you've got 19 different angles. Get the call right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna move to a slightly different topic because we do have an out today. And in another form of football, U.S. has a draw with Wales. Or we got a little Team USA love going on. Maybe no.
No, I'm good. This is the part of the show. I'm zipping me call up on the way. Be a football fan. Yeah,
but we're going to talk politics.
They make fantastic jelly. The Welshes. It's great.
I love me some Tom Jones. Yeah, I love me some Tom Jones, mate.
We are gonna. We had an incident. A journalist covering the World Cup arrives at the game wearing a T-shirt with a soccer ball in the center, surrounded by a pride flag, and he was refused entry into the press box. And then there have been many prominent people from Qatar tweeting that they're proud of what happened, that homosexuality is against the law there. And then there's been an alarming number of Americans who've sided with that point of view and saying sports should not be political, even though sports has always been political. Scattershot thoughts on that, Andy? I'll let you go first.
Were they Rangers fans?
I think so.
Because evidently they're going to sign Mitch Haniger, who is an outspoken ally of the LGBTQ plus community. And Rangers fans are a little bit losing their minds about it because they don't even have a Pride Day yet. Sports are political. Sports like the World Cup and the Olympics are political by their definition. It is what it is. I think the bigger question is, how does a country the size of Qatar get the World Cup when you're bidding against countries that have just as much money?
But I got that oil, dog.
Well, there's that, and there's also just, if you think about all the things that happened in the building of the stadiums, the number of people that died, that just sort of got.
But FIFA is, as an organization, I think, known as being a corrupt organization, almost as bad as the Olympic Committee that makes decisions on who gets what games. And when you're going to do that, you can't also say we care about diversity, we care about inclusivity, we care about all these things that are politically correct when you're going to give a country like Qatar the World Cup. You're giving them a platform to say these things are all fine. It's all good. It's a little bit like Rob Manfred saying it's fine for Atlanta to have a racist chant because World Series. We don't manage them.
Local decisions. Scott, you got any thoughts on that?
Tons. I mean, look, when in Qatar, or Qatar, or I almost feel like we could do a Letterkenny episode like they did with Quebec, and we could do that with Qatar and Qatar. Of course, this was going to happen. Who didn't see this coming? Somebody was going to provoke something, and the Qatar government was going to behave the way that they behave. This was known. It was a mistake for FIFA to hold the World Cup there to begin with. It never should have been there. But once you've made a terrible mistake and you know that people are going to come and provocatively call that out, and rightfully so, that's fine. But yeah, this stuff's going to happen. And then in America, we've got so much upheaval and people are on extreme sides and the loud voices are way out on the edges. Of course, they're going to jump in and support that. I mean, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but yeah, this was a terrible decision to hold a World Cup there. And it's a time in the world that's very volatile, especially with words. And so I have today does not shock me at all for something like this to happen. More the reason it shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah.
But sports are political. They've been political since Rafer Johnson raised his hand in Mexico City. They've been that way since Colin Kirkpatrick took a knee. They've been went to
Berlin.
Jesse Owens went to Berlin. But Americans didn't mind that then as much because they minded it at the time. But 10 years later, after we were in the war with Mr. Hitler, we didn't mind that because our guy was doing it right. So,
I think the frustrating thing has been the sort of default answer to a lot of Americans has been, well, we're a guest in their country. We obeyed by their rules. And that's just not how it works. They're not having you. It's not your uncle having you over for dinner and you got to put up with racism for 3 hours. It's not the same thing. Andy, I'll give you the last word.
Well, even China knows enough to know to hide their ugly side when they have an international sporting event on their lands. They do. Oh, please stay in Beijing. Don't look outside. Look at Beijing. Look how beautiful Beijing is. Now get on the plane to go to the other venue. Don't take a bus because we don't want you seeing what our citizens actually have to go through. You picked a country that doesn't even feel the need to hide what they are. Matter of fact, they're proud of it and good for them. But the reality is they shouldn't be hosting an event like the World Cup when so many of the competing countries don't hold the same values that they do. If they want to have a Middle East Cup, fantastic. They can do that.
Yeah.
World Cup, they shouldn't be eligible for it.
Yeah, Qatar is Qatar, right? They're not changing. Yeah. It's the fact that they shouldn't have been there to begin with.
They should have been there to begin with. And
I blame FIFA.
To your point earlier, Scott, and then Andy's point, there's enough money in other FIFA countries that you could have picked one of them without walking into this. If you're not going to use this platform for something most of us all agree in, then what's the point?
In a time when so many sports are reaching out to be inclusive, in a time when women's soccer is huge, why would FIFA make this choice? I mean,
well, that's the other thing too.
Would we have tripping on their own dick?
And we don't need to answer this, but the rhetorical question is: would we be okay if they made our soccer players wear headscarves? But I will say too, before we move on, just props to the Iranian soccer team that did not stand for their anthem and protest over what's been happening in their country, and of course, they'll all be mysteriously killed in a few weeks. All right. We got some real football still to go. Scott, we'll start with you. Arkansas, Missouri won.
It's rivalry week.
It's rivalry week. Are you gonna be able to get out there first of all? And how do you see the game?
Can I get out there? Yes. Do I have a desire to go out when it's 38 degrees and sleeting? No.
You're just like an Aggie week.
I am. Look, man. Fair. Arkansas has never won in Columbia.
Oh.
Okay? We haven't played there but 2 or 3 times, though. Let's not get crazy about it, all right? Columbia, there's not some mysterious about Columbia. It's just that Chad Morris was coaching us the last time we've been up here. I think I do think Arkansas handles and ends that streak this week. in Missouri. Missouri's fighting for bowl eligibility. We just got it. However, Arkansas seems to be more healthy on offense than we have been for quite a while. The problems that we were having with the offensive line against Liberty, for crying out loud, and then again against LSU, doesn't seem like we had the same problems against Ole Miss. We were able to establish the run. I do think we get physical with Missouri. I think it will still be a close game because, like I said, Missouri has a lot to play for, and they've gotten better as the year's gone on. But I do think Arkansas finishes at 7-5, which look, man, for any Razorback fans watching this or listening to this, and you guys talking about wanting to fire Sam Pittman, shut up. You're a bunch of freaking idiots. I just want to say that. Do you not remember 3 years ago when we had Chad Morris going through 2-10 seasons? Do you not remember when we had Brett Bielema that couldn't win an SEC game in his last year? Do you not remember when John L. Smith was saying smile when we had a good coach and he wanted to put a blonde on the back of his motorcycle? And before that, we can go 15, 20 years back to Houston Nutt, where we had to fly planes to try to get rid of him. People that are calling for Sam Pittman's head right now are a bunch of short-term idiots that don't see. Look at Auburn. Auburn fires a perfectly capable coach in Gus Malzahn, and they get Brian Harsin, who fits like a four-fingered glove to somebody with 6 fingers. And now they're out on the market trying to find somebody to replace that. Don't replace Sam Pittman. Shut up. If you really think it's that bad and you want – go focus on Arkansas State. They need to fire Butch Jones. You can focus your attention there, but leave Sam Pittman alone.
Andy, were you aware that Inigo Montoya was an alum of Arkansas? No, you weren't. I wasn't either.
I do not think you know the word alum and what that means, sir.
You've been using this word, Andy. You are fighting. You got the Fighting Brian Arbors, LSU. I kind of feel like A&M gets off the deck and finishes on a strong note. Mostly because I don't necessarily believe in LSU.
I really do like the way that the holiday season softens your heart, because that's the only way you could see this game as anything but a bloody blowout. And I don't mean that in the British way. I mean actual blood. Lots of it spilled on Kyle Field, which is Memorial, so that's fine. The story is that right now LSU is ranked in the top 40 in rushing. And if you look at the last 4 weeks, they're probably top 10 in rushing. And we're sitting at 123 in rushing defense. This game is going to be over in 2 hours because all they're going to have to do is run 10, 15, 20 yards in a clip. And we're going to watch them because DJ Durkin will sit there in his 3-man front and go, boy, I hope we can stop them with these no linebackers. We don't have linebackers. Oh, shit. Safeties? Nope, they're all hurt too. Cornerbacks. We're going to play 7 cornerbacks against a team that's heavy against the run.
Dare them to throw.
Yep, we're going to make – yeah, it's all bad. My advice to A&M fans is hunting season has started. Go get your guns. Go shoot something. Come back. Turn off your phones, notifications. Enjoy the turkey because there's not much.
Well, okay,
where's Brian Arbor?
I thought the dramatic effect of him
he's
popping
sniping at me when they play us, but he gets Andy, and we're giving Andy a pass. Are you kidding me? Give me a break.
To be fair, we arranged
to become Southwest Conference hadn't existed in 30 years, and teams in Texas still have it out for Arkansas. I'm just showing you. Just saying.
No. I had arranged for Brian to come on before I even knew who was playing when, but it was only going to be the first one. Okay. Texas, Baylor. I feel like the righteous moral. I feel like there's a righteous morality at stake in this game. I do feel pretty good about it, mostly because I think it is an early game on Friday, and I think Texas is trending in the right direction. We will be back with some more yelling, some more fighting, and some more Sooie.
Right. Sooie.
That's a sound we don't need. We will be back next week to wrap up the season, preview bowl week and our bowl games, and we will start talking some basketball, I guess. From your Fighting Texas Aggies, he is Andy Tom Chesson.
I am, and don't eat ham for Thanksgiving. It's a turkey holiday, folks.
Concur. There will be ham on my table because my wife's family's bonkers, and I'm eating the turkey. And our very famous, our own lovable little hog, Scotty Mack.
The Liberty Bowl's still a bowl.
And I think Texas might play Notre Dame in the old Cheez-It Bowl. Boy, that's a rivalry continued from the Cotton Bowl. All right, everybody, have a great Thanksgiving. This has been Yell Fight Sooie. All right.